Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Max Warframe. Today we're going to be taking a look at the melee weapons released in Update 16, the new Grineer claws, the Ripkas. Now I know this has taken quite a while to get around to doing, and I apologise for that, however I didn't want to review this weapon without having all the stances available to do a full and proper review. So now we've finally got around to doing this review, what can we expect from the Ripkas? Well, with the base damage of 55.1, placing it firmly in the top half of the melee weapons, with the majority, unsurprisingly, coming in slash, with 46.8, 5.5 in puncture, and 2.8 as impact. Slightly random numbers, that's for sure. However, great numbers on this weapon that are in no way random are the fantastic crit chance of 20%, with the 200% multiplier, the very low stamina cost per swing of just 2, and a ground finisher that does an absolute ton of damage, with a very high chance of causing status effects. Now the weapon does suffer from some fairly large drawbacks. Primarily is its rather poor attack speed at just 0.88, making it seriously slow. It's a good thing that this weapon has decent crit chance, because it's going to need that berserker build to make it even vaguely quick. In addition to that, with these being claw weapons, as you can imagine, the range on them is fairly short, meaning that you're going to have to close the gap to the enemies way more than on most melee weapons. But this, and this is by far its biggest downside, is the absolutely massive build requirements. The Ripkas is the first thing outside of Arcwing to even use Tellurium, perhaps to get us actually playing Arcwing again. It's also requiring a fairly sizable 150,000 credits. Not only that, but it also needs a format as well. Now part of the reason it's so costly is that it requires an Ankyros, which is a 10-0 weapon for a Grineer claws, which makes no sense, and that is kind of weird, but also a set of dual cleavers as well, which makes a bit more sense. Now this is one of, if not the most expensive melee weapon, and a significant downside to it. So, onto the stances, and well, this time I'm actually going to talk for a second about those stances. For the Ripkas, there's currently a choice of 2 Malicious Raptor and 4 Riders. And while Malicious Raptor is a pretty decent stance and will do the job perfectly fine, 4 Riders is the stance that I would go for. Not only does it have a pretty reasonable set of combos, with the majority of them pretty easy to do, but also while having the melee weapons equipped and meleeing, it seems that you have a knockdown immunity, which makes these absolutely fantastic against things like bombards and heavy gunners that like to knock you down when you try to melee them. Now I know people are going to be sad that this is the one that I recommend, because of the absolutely ridiculous farm to get these and to be able to get a hold of them. But look, Malicious Raptor does the job just fine. It's a very good stance, and it doesn't make 4 Riders absolute must-have, but still 4 Riders is my stance of choice for the Ripkas. Okay, so let's move on to starting to mod the Ripkas. Now it comes with a V polarity as standard, however we're going to add one former, which is going to be a dash. Now we've got the majority of mods remaining the same between all 3 of our builds. We got 4 Riders in the stance, Pressure Point for melee damage, Berserker, which is going to increase our attack speed for every crit, which is going to work together with True Steel to increase the crit chance, and Organ Shatter, which is going to increase the crit damage. We've also got Buzzkill on here, which is going to increase our slash damage by 120%, and also Live Strike for that live steal when we channel. Now for these builds we're going to be modding for the heaviest units because of the lack of elementals on here. So we're going to go with Molten Impact and Shocking Touch for the Grineer for radiation damage. And for the Corpus, North Wind and Shocking Touch for magnetic. And in the Void, Fever Strike and Shocking Touch for the corrosive. Now if you're running the corrosive projection auras, then you can obviously change out Shocking Touch for the North Wind, which is going to give you viral damage, and this will work against the corrosive projection builds. So, is it worth the time, effort and resources invested into both building and then to maxing it? And then I'd say that if these are your types of melee weapons, then yes they are. At the end of the day, we all like different things from melee. Some like insane range, some like speed for maneuverability, and some like getting into people's faces and chopping them to bits. And the Ripkas definitely fits into that final category. Look, the range on them is pretty poor, quite frankly, and without Berserker proc, it's pretty useless for manoeuvring around as well, with a poor copter and a poor directional melee range. But the thing that's more important with these than those two is the fact that they are a ton of fun to play with. I mean, come on, you've got chainsaws stuck to your fist. How cool is that? They look incredible, they sound incredible since you got the sound of the chainsaws. And what's not to like about these? Okay, they're slow without Berserker, but once they're up to speed, they're more than quick enough to deal with any situation, whether it be against enemies in the void or a horde of infested. The Ripkas can hold its own. I've always been one for melee range and the speed for comptering, but there's just something about the Ripkas that I actually kind of like. So what it's expensive, so what that it's slow. It's got a certain charm to it, and that really means that I like them a lot. As always guys, many thanks for watching. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe, it helps me out a ton, and I shall see you in the next episode.